Hey, what are you doing? How are you? Hey, it's Nick Digilio, and how you been? Been a little while since I did some videos. Been crazy busy. Launching a new podcast about SNL. Give you more details about that. Doing my podcast, appearing on Steve Cochran's show. Had a lot of stuff been going on, so I cut down on the videos a little bit, but I still am posting them. And I would love you to check out my Patreon page and give a little dough. All the stuff that I've been doing, I'm launching a new podcast, the podcast that I've been doing for almost a year. It's all free. So whatever you can do to help out would be great to keep these things going. And I would love it if you could donate some dough. It's easy to do. Go to patreon.com/NickDShow. Donate whatever you can, $3 a month, $5, $25 a month. Every little bit helps. And if you donate, I can keep all this stuff going. Including now 2 podcasts and, all the stuff that I do video-wise and some of the bonus stuff that I do. So please, if you can, I would love it. It would help me out a lot, if you donated and became a patron at patreon.com/NickDShow. Please give when you can, what you can. Every little bit helps, so please donate today. And thank you for checking out on the YouTube channel. Okay. 3 movie reviews for the video for one video. It is Thanksgiving time, and a lot of the big the movies come out. We're getting to the end of the year where all of the big award hopefuls come out, and people start to compile. Critics like myself start to compile their best of and worst of list. Everybody gets ready for the awards season for all the big movies and the performances that everybody's going to want to see and all that stuff. So the studios take advantage of that. And they're big movies sometimes with the big stars, but most of the big movies that are supposed to be award-worthy get rushed out at the end of the year. And we all of us critics are really kind of scrambling to see as many movies as possible, go to as many screenings, sometimes 3-4 a day, to pile in there so that by mid-December, we're done with all the movies. We've got our lists compiled, best performances, worst performances, best movies, all that stuff. And that's where we're at right now. Now, I've only got a few more movies to see before all of the films that I need to see for 2022 or 2022 are done. And I can start compiling. In fact, I've actually started to put my list together of the best of the year and some of my favorite things of the year. And I've only got about 3 or 4 more big ones that I have to see before I'm done with 2022 and I can start compiling my big year-end lists. Some big ones always open up on Thanksgiving. So I've got 3 movie reviews here to check out because these are big ones that are coming out. So I thought I'd give you 3 movie reviews. So let's start with Glass Onion. Glass Onion is a Knives Out mystery. This is the sequel to the 2019 murder mystery satire comedy written and directed by Rian Johnson, a terrific director and a terrific writer. And it became a huge hit back in 2019, like a massive hit. Really cool, kind of an all-star cast, led by Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc, who is the world's greatest detective. Don't tell here about that. But he's the world's greatest detective. And in Knives Out, it was this layered, crazy, complicated, funny mystery. And it was fun. It was a fun movie. Made a lot of money, was a big success. Everybody loved Daniel Craig in it. Everybody loved everybody. And I personally thought the best part of the movie was Jamie Lee Curtis. And so now they're going to take Daniel Craig's character, Benoit Blanc, and I guess put him in a series of Knives Out mysteries, and the latest of which is called Glass Onion. I thought the first one was fine. I thought it was entertaining. I liked it the first time I saw it. And then upon sort of like repeated viewings, it gets less and less interesting to me. And I won't watch it anymore because I have a feeling that if I watch it a couple of more times, I probably won't like it anymore because I keep finding shit in it that I don't like. And maybe that was the problem that I had with Glass Onion because I've seen Knives Out and I see sort of the very surfacey trickery that isn't very clever that Rian Johnson does. And I don't know what it was about the first time I saw it that I really loved it. It was like right before lockdown when it came out, and it was one of those movies that I would go back to just to be kind of entertained and taken away from all the bullshit that was happening in the world. And since then, I realized Knives Out, it's not that great. And this one, also not good. Glass Onion, it's an all-star cast. Basically, it's a simple thing. Edward Norton plays this kind of Elon Musk guy, and interesting timing that this movie is coming out where Edward Norton plays like a really brutal satire of Elon Musk when Elon Musk is in the news every day for doing, well, I mean, he's insane. He's always been insane. He's a billionaire who's a fucking moron, and now he's like making news for tearing apart Twitter. It's hilarious. But anyway, it's interesting that good timing for this movie, that there is a satirical character based upon Elon Musk in this movie. Anyway, this multi-billionaire, rich, crazy son of a bitch invites a group of friends, Edward Norton invites a group of friends for a weekend on his, like, Greek island estate, ultra-rich estate, where he invites all these characters that he's known, people that worked for him for all the companies, the tech companies and the car companies and all this stuff, invites them for a murder mystery weekend. Somehow, Benoit Blanc, the world's greatest detective, is also invited, and it's about the mystery that happens there. There's a murder and all kinds of other stuff, and there are actually 2 or 3 mysteries and games that have to be played and solved. It's an all-star cast that includes, as I mentioned, Edward Norton, Janelle Monáe, who is the best thing in this movie, Catherine Hahn, Leslie Odom Jr., Kate Hudson, Dave Bautista, Jessica Henwick, Madeline Klein. And there are a bunch of surprise cameos that I won't give away. There are some big surprise cameos, a couple of which who passed away since this movie was shot, which adds a little bit of interest to those scenes. Particularly one scene where 2 people pop up in one scene that died last year since this movie had been shot. So, interesting. But, surprise cameos and blah, blah, blah. So it's basically a bunch of people, rich people, weird people, different characters associated with this multi-billionaire guy. They go to his private island, and the mystery erupts. And it's up to Daniel Craig to figure out what's going on, and there are flashbacks to tell you what's happening. It's structured like an Agatha Christie mystery, where a bunch of people are gathered in one place. It's your basic murder mystery. It's very similar to Knives Out in that way. This movie wore out its welcome real quick for me. I hated all of the characters. I didn't give a shit about any of them. Some of them are more interesting than others simply because of the cast. The script is not good. The script is populated with unlikable, rich jagoffs that are one-dimensionally written, and despite the fact that they are being played by talented people like Catherine Hahn and Edward Norton and Janelle Monáe, they never get above the level of caricature, which is a problem with another movie I'm going to be talking about. But ultimately, I didn't have fun. Everybody in the theater I saw it with had a blast. They were all like, "Oh, it's very entertaining. It's not nearly as clever as it thinks it is. It's not nearly as funny as it thinks it is. The satire is not nearly as deep and pointed as it thinks it is. It is a movie that is really sort of pretentiously funny. It's a movie that thinks it's so goddamn clever, and it thinks that everybody in the movie is doing their... Kate Hudson, unbearably fucking annoying in this movie. Not just because her character is a dipshit and annoying, but she is unbearably annoying. And that's the kind of tone that's set up throughout this movie. And it's not clever. It's not smart. It's not... it doesn't dig into the world of satire. And what seems to be the flavor of the months now, over the past couple of years, has been destroying the rich. That seems to be like a trend. You've got The Triangle of Sadness, which was a movie that came out a couple of months ago, that was about ripping apart a satire that is like the target was rich, privileged assholes, mostly white, being ripped to shreds. And then there's The Menu, which, by the way, is a lot better than this movie. The Menu is about a whole bunch of rich people who go to a restaurant on a private island. Ralph Fiennes is the chef, Anya Taylor-Joy, John Leguizamo, Nicholas Hoult, another all-star cast. They're all together. It's also a crazy mystery, and its target is the rich. And all of this stuff, has been, there are a lot of movies that poke at the rich. But to me, the only person that's doing it brilliantly, the only person that's doing it with any significance, any dimension, is Mike White, who is responsible for, now we're into season 2, of The White Lotus. The White Lotus is the most pointed, the most brilliant, the most layered, the most sophisticated, the most emotional, and the smartest satire ripping apart the rich. So the privilege, the white privilege, the people that think that they are entitled to everything, they seem to be a target in a lot of satires. And I'm fine with that because fuck the rich. That's why I'm asking for people to help me out on Patreon. I'm not that. Patreon.com/NickD Show. Give today. But I love the fact that there are these satires ripping apart these white, privileged assholes, not just white, of all races and creeds, but the rich seem to be the target, but nobody really does it with any kind of layered significance, with any kind of emotion, with any kind of intelligence more than Mike White. The White Lotus, one of the best shows ever, the first season, brilliant, flawless. The second season, I'm 4 episodes in, it's the best thing on TV, and Mike White is one of the greatest writers of all time, and him ripping apart the privileged rich pricks, brilliant. Brian Johnson doing it as a wacky sort of mystery, not so much. Glass Onion, not good. Not good. A lot of people are loving it. It's a lot of crap. It's a lot of surfacey, not very clever, not very funny. It's a movie that thinks it's so goddamn funny and smart and sophisticated. It ain't. Skip Glass Onion. Check out The White Lotus. The Fabelmans is the new Steven Spielberg movie. Everybody's been, waiting for this one. This is the movie, quote unquote, he's been waiting 60 years to make. And it's autobiographical. It's about his childhood. We've all heard about it. All right, so it's The Fabelmans. You know how I feel about Spielberg. I think Spielberg is capable of being a great filmmaker. He made a great movie last year. His version of West Side Story was fantastic. I think better than the original, and a wonderful job bringing that to screen. And he's made great movies in the past. There's no denying it. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Jaws, I love 1941. But I run very hot and very cold on Steven Spielberg, and I don't think he's the master filmmaker that everybody else on the planet has. And for the most part, I think the majority of his movies are either good, he's made great movies and some classics, obviously, but the majority of his movies, he's made a lot of movies, are either just good, kind of good, or shit. And I think he's one of the most overrated directors of all time. Not a big fan of Spielberg, and I'm not a fan of The Fabelmans at all. I found it fucking insufferable. Interesting cast. Gabrielle LaBelle plays the Spielberg character, Sammy Fabelman, a young kid who wants to be a director. He wants to be a filmmaker. When he was a little kid, his mom gave him a camera. And the mom is played by Michelle Williams. His father is played by Paul Dano. A family friend is played by Seth Rogen. And Judd Hirsch plays like his uncle. So those are the big stars of it. David Lynch shows up. I won't give away what happens there, but it's pretty ridiculous. So anyway, it is the autobiographical story of this, Spielberg's childhood from when he was a little kid. The opening scene is him going to the first movie he ever saw, which was the greatest story ever told, which was the circus movie. No, not the greatest story ever told. The greatest show on earth. Sorry, the greatest show on earth, which was the circus movie, and it made a big impression on him. The big train crash made a big impression on him. He wanted to make movies. His dad, played by Paul Dano, is the more practical one. And you get that, and Michelle Williams, who plays his flighty mom, who has more imagination, and she could be a concert pianist, very artistic. So you've got the brainy guy who is very practical, and the artistic woman who loves dreams. At the beginning of the movie, the very first scene of the movie, Spielberg's character is a little kid. They're standing outside the movie theater, about to go in and see the greatest show on earth. And Paul Dano is saying, well, a film is just a bunch of pictures that are 24 frames per second, and light is shown through them, and it gives you the illusion, blah, blah, blah. And then Michelle Williams is like, it's dreams. It's all about dreams. And movies are dreams. And so that's right shoved into your face in the first 2 seconds of the movie. Dad is practical and realistic. A film is just light, magnified. And then the mother is all like flighty and dreamy, and she wants to be a concert pianist. So it's art versus, reality. And that's the conflict that's set up, the very simplistic, one-dimensional conflict that's set up at the beginning of the movie, and hammered into your face over and over and over and over and over again for fucking 2.5 hours. Dad, straightforward, serious. Mom, flighty, artistic. Wants to live her artistic dreams, and she likes to dance, and I play the piano, and you need to dream, Sammy, dream. All that bullshit. And then Paul Dano is like this, the nerd, I make computers and blah, blah, blah. So there's nerd guy and artistic mom, the battle of where will this kid be? And of course the genius kid is like a little bit of both, but mostly the mom. But there's a personal problem, and the mom might be having an affair with the friend played by Seth Rogen, the uncle character. And they move around from Phoenix to California and other places because of the dad's work. And he's got three sisters. I can't remember what the ages are. He's smack dab in the middle. Four of them, three girls and him. And he becomes obsessed with movies and starts dragging all his friends into him. And it becomes like a thing that he wants to do for his life. And we all know what happened. Steven Spielberg became like one of the biggest movie directors of all time. So we all know what happened. And the movie is about his childhood, the relationship between him and his mother and his father, the divorce that eventually happened when they were younger, and all the stuff that led to him being one of the most famous filmmakers on earth. It's a bunch of horse shit. It is one-dimensional. It's stereotypical. It's a movie that like, it's so simplistic, and it's the worst performance Michelle Williams has ever given. She was better in Halloween H2O. It was a much better, much likable, much more three-dimensional role for her. She's better in H2O than she was in this movie. And this will probably be the movie where she wins the Academy Award. Michelle Williams is one of the best actresses on the planet, who's done some incredible work, like Manchester by the Sea, My Week with Marilyn. She's an incredible actress. She's fucking terrible in this movie. It's embarrassing. And Spielberg directed her to play that way. Oh, it's so dreamy, and I'm full of dreams, and that. And her line readings and her eyes bugging out of her face. And it's everything about this movie is completely over the top. It is ham-fisted. It's one-dimensional. Spielberg in the past had a tendency to go soap opera-y, to go really over the top and corny and manipulative and simplistic. And just the very Spielbergian, like ripping the tears out of your eyes and all that bullshit that Steven Spielberg has done for many years. He's guilty of making some of the most simplistic, one-dimensional, emotionally manipulative soap opera type movies you could possibly imagine. And every fucking frame of this movie is loaded with that. I hated the characters. I didn't give a shit about what was going on. It did not tap into any emotion. I didn't care about anything that happened. Didn't care about the mother, the father, the uncle, the relationship, the divorce. Didn't give a fuck about the kid and his obsession with film. And because I kind of knew that, what would happen is this kid would become Spielberg, who is a filmmaker that I don't like very much, for the most part. And again, I'm not going to deny some of the classic and some of the great films he's made, but for the most part, I don't like Steven Spielberg very much. And here's a movie about Steven Spielberg. So I didn't like it. I don't care. It is as corny and over the top and one-dimensional, the kind of horror-like stuff that Spielberg does when he wants to tear the emotions out of your tear. It's bullshit. So The Fabelmans was just intolerably just annoying, and it's so, let's all cry, and it's blah blah blah. Films are magic. Fuck off. So I hated The Fabelmans. Now, the last one, Bones and All. This is the latest from Luca Guadagnino, the incredible Italian filmmaker who has made such incredibly crazy movies and wonderful movies as A Bigger Splash. He's made Call Me By Your Name, the wonderful romantic film with Timothée Chalamet and, unfortunately, Armie Hammer. He made a film called Lotus, Melissa P. I Am Love, another great movie with Tilda Swinton. He also did the remake of Suspiria. His latest is Bones and All, which is based on a novel written by Camille DeAngelis. And it is about two young lovers who are on the run, from their past, from their families, and they also happen to be cannibals, and they call themselves eaters. And amongst us regular humans in the world, there are a small faction of cannibals called eaters, where they can smell each other, and they must eat humans in order to survive. And they live on the outskirts of the world. They do kill sometimes, and in order to survive, they have to eat other human beings. So they are a group of cannibals that live on the outskirts of society. And two of them are played by Timothée Chalamet and the outstanding Taylor Russell. And they play young lovers who just happen to be cannibals, and it's a road movie. It's them trying to stay under the radar and survive and eat when they need to, and it's about how they feel about the fact that they are cannibals and they must do this in order to survive. They struggle with this, obviously, with being cannibals and eaters. But on the simplest of levels, it is a absurdly, beautifully romantic movie about two young lovers, late teens, on the run, and that's a universal theme, trying to survive, trying to make amends with their families, with their past, with the things that they have to deal with. And it's a road movie about lovers on the run, trying to stay away from the authorities and deal with their problems, the main of one which is their families and the fact that they are cannibals. As I mentioned, Timothée Chalamet and Taylor Russell play the couple. Mark Rylance plays an old, creepy eater. He is also a cannibal who is kind of on their trail. Anna Cobb from We Are All Going to the World's Fair, one of my favorite movies of the year. That was her first movie. She's spectacular in this. She's only been in 2 movies. She's one of my favorite young actresses on the planet right now. Anna Cobb is her name. If you have not seen We're All Going to the World's Fair, it's one of the best movies of the year. She plays Timothée Chalamet's younger sister. Fantastic in this movie. Michael Stuhlbarg and David Gordon Green, the director, they show up as a couple of eaters, very weird white trash hillbilly eaters. Jessica Harper makes a cameo in the film. She is, of course, from Suspiria. Chloe Sevigny plays in the film. And there are a couple of other cameos throughout. But ultimately, it is young love on the run. Outlaw young lovers. A simple premise that has been done a million times. A wonderful staple in the world of American film and all kinds of film and stories. Young love on the run. From familial pressures to societal pressures. It's all there, and it's all, will their love survive what's happening in their lives right now? Will their love survive them being on the run and on the road? And in this case, will they survive being cannibals? It is one of the best movies of the year. It is extraordinarily and overwhelmingly beautiful. It is emotional on every level. I've seen it twice. I have sobbed at the end, like sobbed during the last 10 minutes of this movie, hard, like blowing nose, sobbing. It is beautifully made, incredibly well shot, a wonderful filter through the eyes of an Italian filmmaker and his portrait of America, specifically the Midwest, which is a little off-kilter. So it's a great road movie about America, Americana in the Midwest. In the 80s, it's a wonderful portrait. It never tells you what year it is. It's 1985. It's spring into the summer into the fall of 1985 when it takes place. But they never tell you that on screen. But it is, as the traditional young lovers on the run, damn it, our love is going to survive all the problems. It is incredibly effective on that level. And Taylor Russell in the lead, she is magnificent. It's a great performance. Don't even get me started on Timothée Chalamet. I love Timothée Chalamet. Not only do I have an unrequited male fucking crush on this guy, but he's an amazing young actor, and he's been great, and he's phenomenal in this movie. All the supporting performances are tremendous. Mark Rylance is creepy and wonderful, and all the other little small roles that pop up here. The portrait of the Midwest in the 80s is beautifully done and filtered through the lens of Guadagnino, who is an incredible visual stylist, an incredible storyteller. It is the most romantic movie of the year, but it also has some of the absolute most explicit, grossest, and goriest cannibalism scenes ever filmed. So if you don't mind that, people are calling it a horror movie, I guess, because there's explicit, like, eating of human flesh. I guess it's a horror movie, but I think this is the most romantic movie in years. I think it's beautifully romantic. I think it's as romantic as Call Me By Your Name, which was another overwhelmingly beautiful and emotional. Luca makes these movies that are unapologetically over the top, filled with beautiful romanticism. Nobody does it better. The kind of shit that Spielberg strives to do and fails at, Guadagnino does like that and does beautifully. He is a much more interesting and a much more... The emotions in this movie are earned. The shit in the Fabelmans is crammed down your soap opera throat. It's bullshit. Bones and all, one of the very best movies of the year, one of the most romantic and lushly and emotional and stirring love stories that you will ever see. If you want to call it a horror movie, fine. It's one of the best horror movies of the year, too. It's got cannibalism, it's got everything, and it's got the 2 lead performances of Taylor Russell and Timothée Chalamet, 2 of the best performances of the year. It is an extraordinary movie. Incredibly, overwhelmingly beautiful and emotional on every single level. It's also creepy. It'll make your skin crawl because it's gross. But it is, for my money, one of the very, 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 very best movies of the year, bones and all. So, a big yes to the beautiful, emotional, thrilling, gross, weird, incredibly original and just over the top emotional movie, Bones and All. That's a request. The Glass Onion poser satire, watch The White Lotus. And The Fabelmans, that's a movie that Steven Spielberg should have made and then showed it to his family and not to any of us. So, 3 big Thanksgiving movies are out right now. Only one of them is worth seeing, and it's one of the best movies of the year, and that's Bones and All. All right, more movie reviews coming up. Check me out on patreon.com/Nick D Show. Please give. Check me out on YouTube, and check me out on The Steve Cochran Show on WLS AM 890, 5:30 to 9 a.m. weekday mornings. So check it out!